host, Alan Tracy.
I'm Rahana Power.
And today we have Andrew Stecker with us. Hello, Andrew.
Hey, guys. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Great. Excited to have you on and dive into all sorts of things with you. Before we do, though, Andrew, I know this is our first time meeting, and so we're going to kick it off with our little icebreaker, get to know you a little bit better. Can you tell us something fun, interesting, unique about yourself outside of the film world?
Yeah. Well, what I did come up with was just on a whim. I'm sure I'll listen to this later and be like, oh, there's other things that are better. But this one is always just something fun that I like to tell people. Whereas, most people have, like the normal parts of their brain that are reserved for, like literature or second language, as you were saying, or, a multitude of other useful pieces of knowledge. That's the spot of my brain that I reserve for recording movies. So I've always been known as the movie quote guy in my times, even before acting, when I would work at like video stores that I worked at for years. Any quotes from movies that I at least had seen for a couple times, I could repeat from start to finish. So I could you could hit play on me for like episode 1 of Star Wars, and I could do it word for word all the way to like episode 6.
Wow.
The next one's maybe not so much. I'm still downloading those into my psyche, but I could literally, I'm always the guy that people go to for quote questions. So, I can recall any quote usually at any time of a good select amount of movies.
That's awesome.
So you've seen Ahsoka, so go ahead. Tell me the first episode. No, I'm just kidding.
I have not seen Ahsoka yet.
As of yet, yes.
I'm saving it. I just saw my cousin just put up something of a review on it. I'm just like, nope, wait, not yet.
Oh man, that's awesome though. I know we quote movies and TV shows nonstop here, but it's a very select number of. I am the least qualified to quote, but there are a few that I can do. But yeah, it's a fun thing to be able to do, let alone be able to do like entire movies like that.
Sure. Well, that just means you have more of that normal part of your brain then that I was talking about that I lack.
No, I just it's just shut down. That's all.
Okay.
But is there like a film or even parts of films that you love quoting the most that you're like, this is where I get like,
oh gosh,
if you like apply them every day and you just like throw quotes out there on your own?
See, I've stopped doing that just so for the purpose of having normal conversations with people. But Star Wars creeps in there. Obviously mentioned that. Back to the Future. Just any I have a lot of quotes and inside joke quotes that I have with like my sisters and my family as well too. We always have fun with. I have 2 sisters and they have husbands that had to definitely get used to like speaking our language, and one of them was entered into the family before the other, and the one who was second kept looking at the brother-in-law of mine who was first into the family, and he was like, yeah, just smile and nod when they start doing their little routines or rehearsals of whatever they do, because we're all somewhat performance based, but we know how to get each other going and make each other laugh with like Friends quotes and any number of quotes like Big Bang Theory. Just it's all over the board, really.
Yeah, I love that so much. Oh man. All right. So that fits perfectly actually into the fact that you work in film. And you do a lot. I mean, you're an actor, you're a, director, writer, first AD, like all these different things. You have so many different roles. So what got you started in film and then, acting specifically? I'm going to ask because I'm an actor.
Sounds like Star Wars, but that's
I
my
mean,
guess.
Yeah, sounds like working in a like a blockbuster Hollywood video setting, but
yeah. Well, that's where the love of film was added on to. But growing up, I think my love of film started with my dad, who like would show me Back to the Future first, and like a lot of amazing films, Field of Dreams. And then, I started watching these movies and started falling in love with just watching them and enjoying them for entertainment value. But then I started working at one of the film rental shops called Hollywood Video, and proceeded to work there for there was like some on and off times, but for basically a good decade, almost eight to 10 years,
Mhm.
and only added on to it even more working there. But it wasn't until, and I was in Wisconsin where I grew up actually. So I, about 10 years ago, ended up moving to Minnesota, not necessarily for acting, but just kind of for a fresh start. I
Mhm.
had some life events that kind of transpired that prompted me to, for the first time in my life, seek out a new beginning for myself. And at the time, both my sisters had moved here. So I was like, all right, that might be a good space. At least I have a support system that can welcome me into that space.
Mhm.
And when I got here, I just asked myself the question, if you knew you couldn't fail at something, what would you want to do? And acting, working in film had always been something that obviously with my interests in it, I adored and wanted to pursue. But I was my own worst critic, in which I told myself, like, well, what makes you so special? Why would you succeed at this? Why would you make anything of your life out of this? So I would always just kind of talk myself down and try and tell myself I was trying to be realistic when actually I was, just being unrealistic, because you can absolutely do all those things. So then when I got here, I finally just switched off that part of my mind that would tell me I couldn't do those things. And I was like, yeah, I can absolutely if I want to. And I started looking for an acting coach, and I ended up finding somebody. I studied with her for about a year, Cynthia Ruick. She
Yeah.
was wonderful for me. She was very direct. Um, gave me she was I think the perfect person for me to study with, because she really dealt with the internalized version of it, where it wasn't just like
Mhm.
say the words. Like you definitely wanted to speak from within with any of the lines, any of the roles, anything that you would actually bring to a character. She really, I still hear her whenever I take on any kind of role. She's still there in my mind, directing me, giving me pointers, not letting me lie to myself and say, certain things, that not letting me get away with certain things that, I would say myself.
Mhm.
So yeah, I started, sorry, long story short. So I basically got here and gave myself permission to do so, studied with her, got, I ended up getting a role in a theater, uh, stage show of Wizard of Oz, and got the Scarecrow, fell in love with it. That's basically where I kind of fell in love with the whole process of acting. It's theater, it's not film, but it's what got me my first agent, because one of
Yeah.
the little munchkins' mother used to work with one of the talent agencies here. So she gave my name to her.
Wow.
And then I started doing commercials, and yeah, that's just kind of where the tree kept growing from. So that was at least the first start of it.
Wow.
That's amazing.
What a
Um,
role
I
to
actually also
play.
got to study under Cynthia and agree she's
Oh, did
phenomenal.
you?
So that's really cool that you
Oh,
got the
that's so cool.
opportunity
Yeah.
to work with her. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's amazing. So your love, was really with acting, and that's where you kind of began getting to grow here. How did you start directing and writing? Like, how did you incorporate those things? Because I know a
There
lot
were,
of people, a lot of actors really want to direct, but
sure. Yeah. I mean, it's all part of like the filmmaking process. And a lot of people who feel that they have a knack for, say, the writing part of it, or at least the storytelling part of any capacity, because a director, a writer, and an actor, are the three that really kind of can create a vision. And then obviously all the other pieces that become necessities as well are all very essential in that process too. So it seems that I would assume so many people that I've talked to have that similar desire, where they could feel that they could direct something if, say it was with a safe environment, which is why I appreciate a lot of Minnesota film, because a lot of us, uh, in order for us to continue working, we all kind of migrate in and around different areas, in front of camera, behind camera, um, and do so just because of the love of the filmmaking process. So I don't know. I before I acted, I always wrote. So I've always been kind of involved in some kind of creative aspect of storytelling. So I wrote short films and such, and I would submit them to online publications. With the films that I ended up directing, which were stories of my own that I adapted to screenplay form, uh, they were just stories I wanted to tell, and thought I'd give directing a chance. And it was with the Z-Fest Film Festival that allowed me to do so, which is always such a wonderful resource for anybody who has aspirations in any capacity to be able to put their stuff out there, just to create something, put it out there, hopefully not care what people think of it or how they receive it, but just so you can say that you did that, you can see how you felt about it, how you feel about it, if it's something you even want to continue.
Yeah, I think I remember that one. Was that with Nicole? It Was You? Is that the name?
Yeah, It Was You was the first one.
Yeah.
Wow, you remembered it.
Oh yeah,
you remember the name too, man.
It was memorable because it made me think of This Is Us, and it was you. Wow. So it's kind of like the names kind of intersect in a way of saying such. But that's what it reminded me of watching it. So yeah, I liked it a lot. So
thanks at least for remembering it. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And Nicole was great, of course, in it.
Oh, so. Of course she was. I knew she had it in the bag already when her name was put in front of me. I think she and I had worked with each other to a maybe commercial capacity to that point. And obviously she's been helped out with Ruggiero throughout the years and such too. But she did wonderful with that role. I was so lucky that she was willing and able to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know we were working on a film at that time, and she told me that she was working on your film, and it was like,
that's why. Okay,
yeah, that's how I remembered. Yeah,
you always remember the people who are just like, oh, you're working with them instead. Oh, okay.
No, I'm not like that at all. It's just because her role is kind of small in the film I was making, but I wanted her still to be a part of it. So, it was. What year was that? 2018 or?
Oh gosh, yeah, it's going back.
2018, yeah.
The fact that it was. Well, I think what I did was I compressed too much story into the 7 minutes. I should have eliminated some story to be able to not have it feel so kind of all over the place. So it was definitely a learning experience for me with that film. It really forced me to be like, all right, well, here's my strengths, and like everything visually looked great. Everybody that I brought on did a fantastic job. But I think as the writer, creator, director of that project, I think I just tried to compress too much story within a 7-minute film, as you know, is required by Z-Fest.
Mm-hmm.
But then what happened, obviously, was 4-ish years later, I ended up doing the more recent one that I did with David and Teresa, who you had on not too long ago, and many more friends of mine that hadn't done Z-Fest as well, and I brought them on. And that was I Promise, which ended up getting in the top 10 and had a good amount of awards. We had Best Wardrobe, Best Hero. You can at least see the trophy that I have on my mantle behind me. My one trophy in my place.
Nice.
Right now.
Love it.
Yeah. Let's see, I Promise. Was that was recent one?
That was just not this year's, the year before.
Yeah. 2022. Okay.
Yeah. This last year I helped out just in a first AD capacity with 2 other films.
Yeah, an actor who was in It Was You.
Yeah, just to get the people that I had on there was just such a joy. Like, just anyone coming around. I remember getting emotional at times because just these people are here to help you create something of your own. You know, it was very, very emotional for me at times to be able to have people that want to actually help me create this, to turn it into something, and to, I don't know. I just remember feeling so many moments of like just watching and being just like, all these people are here just to help me bring my story. Like, we all appreciate the filmmaking process, and all of us Minnesotan people, to the level we're at, we're all just so grateful to get work. Obviously, we want to be working on something that's worthwhile, that you feel like that is worthwhile and with good people. But with regards to it being like your own project that you're bringing and people coming together to help create it, it was just a very emotional experience for me when that one came up, because being my first one.
Oh, is it? I'm sorry, not Sean. It was Leonard here, looks like.
Leonard Cersei? That's what you mean?
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to, like, I was looking at it myself too. I was like, was there someone, because sometimes names get jumbled up in my head. I know faces like nothing else, but
right.
names get jumbled, and that being so
My
long
bad.
ago,
It was Leonard Cersei. So
yeah.
yeah.
No, Leonard. Yeah, we had come out, and he was in a good scene with myself and another friend of mine, Ben Phelps. Had some comedy to it, and they both pulled it off so well.
Mhm.
That was
Nice.
another thing too. I think I did too much. It's a drama. It's a comedy. It's like back and forth. I wanted it to mostly be a drama, but with laughable moments. But I feel people were laughing so much, and in most of Z Fest, people want to continue laughing. There's usually that's kind of the go-to of what people are expecting.
Pleasing type of thing.
And it's difficult to go from comedy to drama in a 7-minute time frame. So I feel like I just I stretched that. I tried something. To tell anybody listening, I tried something, and some of it worked, some of it didn't, but I definitely learned from it.
Yeah. Did you cut that yourself too, or did someone else film it? Or how did you go about that process?
Those were some people that I brought, friends of mine that I had made, who I don't think really had done a Z-Fest film in the past. I don't believe. I ended up contacting a couple of friends of mine, Karsten Johnson. He was the one who ended up doing the cinematography for that. And then my buddy Jared Myers, he was helping me with the editing process of it as well too. So I was in the office with him, kind of putting it all together as best I could. But with my one from last year, I promise I had a friend of mine named Zach Anderson do the cinematography for that, but I ended up doing all the editing because by that point in the 4 years I had learned a lot with the editing process, and I really wanted to harness my exact vision that I had in my mind for it. And when it was Jared and the previous one, it was a lot of back and forth, and I had to allow him to do some leeway and take some decisions that he had to make himself. So it was difficult handing that off. So I can see how a lot of directors would feel about having to do so, but they're always seemingly in the room while the editing is going on. But with this one, with what I knew, I was like, I want to take this on myself and really tell the story I want to tell 100%. Like, as directors don't always get that chance. So why don't I do it?
Right. Absolutely. And we have such a unique competition in Z-Fest, it's technically a competition, but I mean, it's also just for exhibition too, so that people can see it on the big screen, aside from like 48-hour film project and such. Because other cities have 48, but other cities do not have Z-Fest. So it's kind of nice to have those opportunities pop up throughout the year where you can make your own film in a short form. And there's nothing wrong with making like your first film. That just means you have a bigger story to tell that goes beyond the frame of 7 minutes. Which is good, because then you can write for features then. So you can make a feature film, right, in Minnesota? So
exactly. I mean, the story that I had wrote for that one definitely was even longer still than it was, and I just chose that one to try and fit in. I thought I could handle the story that I had intended for the 7 minutes, and obviously it still told the story, but I just there were just some missteps that caused it to really not land with the audiences. But I still took a lot of pride away from it. I still adored it. There were still several scenes in there that I was just like, those really worked.
Yeah, I loved it. I like nuance. I catch that. I don't get, I try to stay in the moment of the film to catch everything I can that's being, shown.
Right.
I made the mistake of making like sequences. So year to year, they don't really make sense to the new audience. It's just like, wait, what? Did we miss something, Alan? It's like, there's 2 other films before the. Never mind.
What happened?
Let's see. So let's talk about your feature films. Let's move into that, because you're kind of working on that. What was kind of your first feature film that you made here in Minnesota? What was that, and what was your role?
So I had some background roles in a few ones from like way back in the day, like, and little like day player roles on a few things, like Astray with one of the guys from the film with Tom Hanks, the Captain Phillips film. He was one of the 3 one of the 4 main Somali actors that was utilized in that one. He was the youngest one.
Yeah.
Barkhad D. Raham.
Yeah.
I know I'm not saying it 100% right, but he and I kind of connected on that and have been like in each other's corner ever since. Every now and then he'll reach out or see what I'm
That's
doing.
great.
And so that was, I think, one of the first. And all I did was just, it was supposed to be, I think it got cut from the film, of course, because I didn't even mind. I was just like, yeah, I still have the experience. And everyone said they got cut from one of their first roles. So it's like, that was mine.
Yep.
But it was just driving up and asking if he was selling drugs or something and then driving off. Because in the film, he finds a stray dog and he's walking with the stray, becomes kind of his buddy. That's hence the name of Stray for it. So I think he's like carrying something other than a dog in the pouch, and that's all it is. Got to drive my own car. Literally, it was like drive up to set, park here, drive up with your car, drive around, do it again, and then thank you. And then I just drive. Like, I don't even think I left my car. I just was in the car the whole time.
A drive-through film roll? That's great.
A drive-through film roll, yeah. But
that's perfect.
Number 1, and I'm out.
Yeah.
Sign this. I'll sign it later. All right, just email. Bye. Just take off. Yeah, so that was like the very, very first, and it was little spot roles here and there and other things, and was able to do some background work, like I said, and then I even did a stand-in role once or twice. One for Nick Offerman was
oh my gosh,
one of the stand-in roles that I got to be a part of.
Rahana's excited.
Wait, what movie was that? I love Nick Offerman.
So that was called The House of Tomorrow. And it was such an awesome experience. It was starring Asa Butterfield, Alex Wolff, Nick Offerman, and Ellen Bernstein. And it was a independent film, but it was awesome being on that one. So being his stand-in, had a little bit of a back and forth with him occasionally. He was everything you would have wanted him to be. I remember one day he bought barbecue from one of the Food Network guys, came out in his big blue truck and fed barbecue to everybody. Wow. So that was awesome. That was amazing. At first, like, we weren't going to be paid for the stand-in work because that was like kind of what they didn't have it in the budget. But me and the other, I didn't protest, but I started saying, like, this is all day stuff. Like, a lot of us are coming off of our jobs. Yes, like, we're all very excited to just be a part of something, but like, can you talk to them about anything? And I ended up getting us all just like a $50 a day type of thing. So at least, thankfully, throughout that duration, all of us could at least think that, okay, we're at least going home with something. So I was kind of proud about that. I was just like,
that's awesome.
I petitioned for all of us. Really, was just a couple of emails back and forth saying,
a one-man union show. You should.
That still made a difference.
Yeah. You should be at the SAG table. That's
right. Just for my awesome 2 email. Do you think we could maybe get better things for us, please?
Just vittles, if you please. Awesome, Butterfield. Those guys were great. I wasn't able to chat too much with Nick Offerman while I was on, because while I was on, he was off, and vice versa.
Right.
But I got to hang out with Asa Butterfield, Alex Wolff, and then also Maud Apatow, Judd Apatow's daughter.
Yeah.
So I just kind of hung out with them. Yeah, I just kind of hung out with them for most of the days. We ate lunch together a lot of the days too. We just hung out, chatted. We played Wii bowling a couple days because we were at the house we were filming at, and
nice.
Yeah, it was actually really, really cool just getting to hang with them. And then obviously they go off, and obviously Asa was already doing awesome things with
Asa. That's how you say it. Okay.
Yeah, Asa. But
I just know him from Ender's Game.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I knew him from as well too. But he's been doing a lot since as well too. But then Alex Wolff, went on to do Jumanji. He was the guy that turns into The Rock, Dr. Smolder Bravestone, and everything. So it's been cool to see how he's been doing as well too. And Nick Offerman's been, he sounds like he's about to take off with his career. So
yeah, he's up and coming.
Maybe,
I'd say. He had that one show.
He can hope. I mean, we'll see.
Hopefully something happens for that. No, but he was just such a treat of a guy too.
That's awesome.
But but those were all early stuff, and then it wasn't until the war film started that I really started getting like really involved in a production company that was consistently putting out work. So like the war films, we've been doing at least one a year for the last, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years.
Wow. That's huge. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Are
So
there
I was going to say I started acting with them, but then started migrating behind camera, and then ended up becoming more of a second assistant director role with that one.
Wow.
how do
Good.
you like that transition? Are you enjoying that just as much or more of a
It's as it's as far away from the creative process that you can get. So it was I appreciated it for a lot of what it gave me in terms of like figuring out the logistics of filmmaking and understanding the ins and outs of it that I
Mhm.
was that you're not shielded from, but you don't really get to experience much from when you're in front of camera, and even some
Yeah.
of the other uh,
Hmm.
film roles as well too. But it definitely taught me a lot, and I adore it for what it's given me, like somewhat more of an authoritative presence.
Mhm.
Because I throughout my life I had done a lot of 9 to 5 jobs, and somewhat would get like
Yeah.
assistant manager roles, but I never really took to those roles in the same sense of
Yeah.
where I like kind of connected with them. So this feels something in the way of like it's an assistant manager type of role, because you have to be a voice of authority on set for majority of everything and everything going on. But it allowed me to kind of find that within myself, because I had to in order to function with it properly. So then I'll step
Mhm.
in the first AD capacity when needed. But second AD is where I started at least behind camera. And yeah, I've appreciated everything that it's allowed me to understand more terms and in terms of like the filmmaking process.
Mhm. Is there a role that, I mean, you've done quite a few different things just across the board. A role that maybe you haven't dipped your toe into in the overall filmmaking process that you're like, maybe someday I'd be intrigued to give it a shot? Or have you found maybe the spots where you just love being already?
Well, every part of it is interesting. And when you're a first AD, you start being more conscientious of um, the other roles that are necessities, in terms of
Hmm.
like the grips, the gaffers, and everybody that makes the whole machine work,
Yeah.
and how necessary they all are, obviously, to making just that 1 5 second moment from action to cut, like how
Hmm.
necessary all of those pieces are really to make it work. So the assistant director side of things has allowed me to understand those to a good capacity. Um, and and it's always my approach when I've been in those positions is I've been in positions where I've worked with first assistant directors that are very direct. They're very strict, very stern. They're not your friend, or they
Hmm.
think they are, but you really are just like, oh my God, like you're trying to avoid them. And I'm like, yeah, they seem to work off of the capacity of fear. So
Hmm.
everyone's like
Oh.
fearful to get the job done. At least that's
Huh.
kind of what I've taken from it. And
Hmm.
what I've preferred is if you get that respect factor off of it, like people
Mm.
can still get the job done, and they want to get the job done for you, not because they're fearful of any like repercussions, but because they want to get it done for you. They want to get it done for the production. And I think that's a lot of what Minnesota film people like bring to the table, because we're all grateful to be working.
Hmm.
Not so much that any of us are, yeah, we'll work for free always, but to the
Yeah.
point of where we're all just grateful for the experiences, not because there's such a lacking of film here, but for somewhat of that reason, because film doesn't come here a lot. So when it does, we're all very like, let's represent Minnesota film to the best of our
Yeah.
capacity. And I think everybody shines when that happens and
Yeah.
shows our best sides. So in my capacity, I try and bring that out in anybody with the first assistant director stuff by just being respectful, respecting everybody with their particular roles, allowing them the time that they need to do what they need to do. Um, yeah. So as far as that, I would still love to do more directing, because
Hmm.
again, it's closer to the creative process than assistant directing is.
Yeah.
Right. Jeez. So there's so much to talk about here. uh, Gosh, I guess I'll kind of move into like your progression, like between acting and behind the camera, like making your own content, or film, not content. But just, what have you progressed in the way that you would hope to, or has it been kind of more of an open road for you? How do you approach it then for you?
Well, when I started, I gave myself a good 5 years to at least not to
Mm.
achieve anything specific, but to see how much I still wanted to do it. And that was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And I'm still like, yeah, there was no question that this is what I wanted to do. Starting off, I, had, not that I don't have aspirations now, but I had certain aspirations, but I was really just kind of like one step after the other focused. There really wasn't an end result. There was things I would still want to achieve and, places I'd still want to go. Like I would love to, like any actor, get a recurring role on a TV show or something, or at least get a guest star role, which I've come close to, but I've never actually gotten. So those are all goals that are still on the table, but they're never like have to be the end result type goals accomplished, because I'm still enjoying everything that opportunity wise that the Midwest and Minnesota specifically has given me opportunity wise. So I'm really just kind of open for what opportunities kind of find my way. I'm a very, very much a student of the law of the universe and law of attraction in that way, where I very much so focus on the things that I want and I work towards it, but then letting go of the extreme expectations of this needing to happen to this needing to happen. Like I have a plan, but I'm very much willing for the universe to come in and throw a better plan in my lap, because I've had plans in the past and the universe kept trying to tell me that there's more to this plan, and I kept ignoring it. And the universe came up and gave me a nice kick in the ass and said, would you listen to me? And I fell flat on my face, and like my entire world like was seemingly crumbling around me because I wasn't listening. So now I like to feel that I'm listening. I'm willing to like go with the way the universe is, the directions the universe takes me, and very much grateful for just whatever comes my way of any kind of opportunity, or even lack thereof, because that means there's a lesson there as well too.
Hard lessons sometimes.
I love that.
Very much so. Yeah.
But they come into play later.
Yeah. If you at least have a mentality of just being grateful for what you do have. Like I still look back on the film roles that I've had that still are happy places for me to go whenever I'm feeling like the lows of any kind. Like I can go back to those experiences and remind myself that I had those, and they can still be such a source of wonderfulness for me, while I'm still, looking forward to what's on the horizon to come.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I want to talk about some fun things that I always just love hearing everybody's, our guests' thoughts and opinions on. Who are as an actor, who are your favorite actors to watch, and like who grips you the most?
Well, when I was first starting out, I liked to say it was actors that were very much in-depth actors, like Joaquin Phoenix. Gary Oldman has always been a number one for me too. Philip Seymour Hoffman was another one. They were all actors who really looked like they, could lose themselves in a role and such. And while I still very much appreciate those actors, and maybe it's just in the processes of what I've kind of come through and learned in regards to the filmmaking process of all the different facets that, come into play into filmmaking. Kevin Costner, I've kind of realized, has been a guy that I've really admired, not just like acting wise. Obviously people don't necessarily consider him like a great actor, I guess. I don't know why, but like there's a Family Guy joke I remember where Chris is walking out of a theater and it's a Kevin Costner film, and the joke is, how does Kevin Costner keep finding work? It's like, but just knowing that how involved he is in the entirety, like he's usually a producer on most of his films, just how engaged in he is in the whole process of it is really kind of inspiring to think of when he talks about like how involved he is in most of the processes. But someone else I just love watching, because that's my guy, is Henry Cavill, because I adored Superman and I thought he made a great Superman, and Witcher, and being somewhat of a gamer, although I don't do too much gaming myself right now anymore, but I still consider myself such. The way that he's just so open about like his nerdiness and his geekiness and can still be that like muscle bound, awesome dude that he is. It's just like, yes, like, come on, there's still a place for all of us out there, and how normalized that kind of makes it. So I just appreciate his presence and just his kind of identity that he's brought to to his name and obviously the roles that he's taken on too. I was very heartbroken when he was going to be and then wasn't going to be Superman, and then was going to be and then wasn't going to be Superman. I'm just like, stop it, stop playing with me here.
And then
I'm right with you.
In the interim, he loses Witcher. It's just like,
that broke my heart even more.
For sure, because I was like, okay, well, at least we have that. Like, no, we don't have that either, because I felt like the way that it happened, it was like he was not going to continue. He's not going to continue The Witcher because of that cameo that he had in Black Adam, where it was saying that he was coming back. Spoiler alert, as Superman. But then, so you're like, no, if like all these plans that we have for the next Supermans, I shouldn't be able to continue on with The Witcher. But then it was like, so it's like, oh, all right, well, you have to give up The Witcher. That's okay. It's still an iconic role and character that you made your own, but you absolutely did the same with Superman. And then it's like, and we are not going to continue being Superman. Like, what? Yeah. What? Just don't take them both away from me. Come on.
I know, right?
Right. Like, he's perfect for both. And then they were just like, and now you're not either.
Yeah, I was so sad because
I'm still not over it.
Yeah. I'm not, I gotta say, I'm not as much either, because he still
doesn't make sense.
He didn't get like it. He had his time obviously with Superman, but he didn't get a chance at like a second one. Right. I loved Man of Steel. I thought it was an awesome, different way to tell the story that had never been done before. And that's when people still appreciated Zack Snyder's storytelling way.
Oh boy!
Because then they're just like, oh, everything's dark. I'm just like, well, it doesn't all have to be Marvel. You know, we can still have a place for all these. I was really hopeful that he could continue to show more of that character than what he already had, but it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. We don't have to get too worked up about it. I'm still adore Superman, so I'll appreciate whatever else they bring to the table with regards to that.
Yeah.
Cautiously optimistic.
I'm definitely still bitter.
You go right ahead and be bitter. It's okay.
I'm going to. He was perfect for both, and it breaks my heart a little too much. I've ranted over that in a few different episodes of this. But,
we could devote an entire episode to just talking about.
We really
just
should.
talking about
I feel
that.
Like that's a good idea.
Yeah, you're on one right now. This is your chance. Soapbox.
Yep.
Apple box.
When we get when you get him on too, then we can talk to him about it right from the source. We can ask him all about it.
Let's do it. How do we make it? Okay, for everyone listening, let's pull
Since
together.
Since he's not doing Witcher or Superman, he's not busy.
Context.
So
right. I mean, there's the Warhammer stuff the Warhammer film that he's working on coming to fruition. I believe it's very early in the processes of, but now that's his next baby that he's probably able to devote most of his time to right now.
Right.
But maybe he'd have time for, one day to take a little hour away to talk to some folks about how much they appreciate and wish he was still in those roles and those positions.
Their early days, they can come to Minnesota to film Warhammer. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
There's plenty of
those are your favorite actors.
Yeah, I would say.
What about like films specifically? Like, what are some of your top favorite films? Like, whether it's from the filmmaking and acting perspective, or maybe they're just like your classic favorites, or like films you can just watch over and over again.
Yeah, I tend to go towards just classic favorites, just ones that give me like happy feelings, and ones that are exciting, and they bring a nostalgic feel to them, maybe somewhat too. So just film. I'm a big 90s film fan. Like I adore films now, even still, but I feel like the 90s were a time of filmmaking that was at least special for me. So I definitely go back to a lot of like 90s action films, even like 80s films as well too, like Terminator. Terminator 2 is by far, I think, one of the best action sci-fi films of all time. Then I would put Aliens in that same category of one of the best action. Those are feel-good movies for me. Okay, good. Like those, I was just talking to someone recently, like those are feel-good movies, like when they're just like, oh, feel-good movies, like Forrest Gump or something, which still are wonderful feel-good movies in my book as well too. But like, I'm like, yeah, Aliens, Sigourney Weaver kicking ass, like those movies, I'll always remember like when I first saw them, and it always just sticks with me. So I think it has a level of nostalgic factor to it too. But just to this day, I think those are still just both those franchises have tried to recapture, and I'm like, nope, I think they set the bar way too high with both of those in the 80s and 90s, and any attempt to recapture it is just not gonna. They can get close, but it's just not gonna be able to get. They peaked with those, really.
They can reference it, eventually, but yeah, it's something about like aliens, just those two, Terminator 1, Terminator 2, it's just.
But I mean, Star Wars, I'm looking at my wall right here. I have Back to the Future. I have Star Wars. Star Wars are always like a go-to for me as well, too. Back to the Future was just on the other day. Just like one of my favorite feel good, but actually like you could say normal people would put in a category of feel good is this one called City Slickers with Billy Crystal.
Yeah.
And I adore that film so much, and I realized I am 1 year away from the age that he is in that film where he's going through his midlife crisis. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. Oh, no. Like, I do not feel that old, but I watched it when I was like his son's age, which is his son is played by a baby Jake Gyllenhaal, actually.
Really?
Yeah, if you go back and watch it, like he goes to career day for his son, and it's told you're like, oh my God, that is baby Jake Gyllenhaal. He looks no different, just lighter hair, spiky 90s hair. But it's hilarious to see him. Yeah. Wow. But I love that film because like he's going through a midlife crisis. He feels like he's stuck. And then he goes on this awesome cattle drive with his two friends, and they both feel like they're stuck in their respected areas in life, and they come back, and it's just like, like something clicks. It doesn't necessarily anything that like therapeutic. It's therapeutic that happens, but nothing necessarily specific happens where it's not just like in a therapy room talking to a therapist, which are absolutely helpful in their own right, and I think everyone should consider. But it's just like he finds his smile is kind of what it is. He like points to his face. He's like, "Look what I found," and he smiles. But that's one of my favorites as well, and just a go-to one that I think I might watch after we're done here, maybe. I think everyone should go out after they listen to this and watch City Slickers and find their smile.
There it is.
I love that. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Well, Andrew, of all the like roles you've played in the past, or maybe films you've made, do you have favorites or parts of like favorite moments even when doing those roles or something like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. So the out of the war films, like the favorite role that I had was probably acting alongside Dolph Lundgren in our Operation Seawolf film. So we filmed for about a week and a half, or about a week, I guess, in Ohio, in Cleveland, on a submarine there, the USS Cod, which is a actual U.S. submarine that we outfitted to be a German submarine, because Dolph plays a German sub-commander that is basically pretty much retired. He's a World War I veteran at the time, and survived. And they bring him out of retirement to captain this fleet in this last-ditch effort for this group of Russian subs that's supposed to attack New York. And he basically commands my submarine, whereas I was in line to be commander, to be like finally the commander of my ship, but they bring him in to command instead. So he and I have some friction, which was so fun and so intimidating at the same time. But the whole time I'm just saying, like, I'm acting alongside the guy that I watched before I knew I was going to be an actor. And it was just surreal every day, just being able to, I would really focus in and like, show like, all right, let's show what you can do. You got to bring your A game with this every time. And we would have some intense scenes, and he had to rough me up at some point, and I just was giggling in the back of my head, even though I had to look terrified, which was easy to do too, because it's Dolph Lundgren looking at you with his "I must break you" eyes from Rocky IV. But it still is that's one of the places I like to go, like I mentioned before, to just feel good. I had this experience, even if the film didn't do so well or receive too well, doesn't take away that I had this experience, and no one can take that away from me. And it was amazing getting to work with him. He was such a fun, awesome guy to have on set too, and just brought an energy that, we were all looking forward to.
Masters of the universe, come on.
Yeah, we ended up watching. So we filmed a couple of days in LA, and we ended up in his honor, after we wrapped, I think my buddy Paul and I ended up watching Masters of the Universe.
Yes.
And we were just like, oh my, and that was one I hadn't seen for a while. So I was just like, wow.
I have not seen that in a long time.
But yeah, that was definitely a fun experience. The one more recently that kind of had a play in with family was Come Out Fighting was one that just got released recently. We filmed it 2 years ago though, so it took some time coming out. But the role I had in that one was, you could say, a smaller role, but it definitely stood out to me, and I was petitioning for our production team to for me to have that role because it was a World War II pilot of a P-51 Mustang, and my grandfather was a World War II veteran, and he was a gunner for a plane during World War II as well too. But he also had to be able to fly the plane as well, so you could basically just say that he was a pilot. But that was a way I wanted that role specifically, and it's the scene that opens up the film where I'm flying with Kellen Lutz, who you know from the Twilight films and many more. He and I got to be kind of buddy because it was required for our characters to be, but that dude was just such an amazing guy. Talk about just, oh my God, like he was just such an amazing dude, brought a wonderful, loving energy to set every day. When I told him that I finally got the role, he gave me a big hug, and I was just like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting that. Like, what a sweetheart of a guy. He kind of took me for a loop, but I was like, oh man, there are amazing sweethearts out there who are definitely hard workers. But so we filmed those scenes together. That was some of the last stuff that we did, but it was one of my favorite roles as well, because I got to I felt like I was kind of honoring my grandfather's memory for World War II pilots and such. And yeah, that was just something special too.
Wow.
Yeah, that sounds so wonderful. Oh, that just made my heart really happy. Okay, so man, you've done so much, and like listening to these stories of like the experiences that you had is, I mean, we could just do an entire episode of you just telling us all about your fun experiences on set.
I'll just thank you guys for letting me have this time to at least talk about it, because it really does make my soul come alive to talk about not just the experiences, but just be able to share it with anybody who's willing to listen, which is just a joy already. So I'll just take that moment to say thank you to you guys for at least allowing me to do so, and to
you're welcome,
to just express the fun I've had.
Oh, we love it. So you've done so much, but there's so much more to do. So is there something that you like really want to do now more than ever? Maybe it's certain kind of project, dive into certain genres, or take a leap into something.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'd love for us to finish the war film we're currently on. With we have to come back to finish that one, where I'm acting alongside my two friends, David and Teresa, again, who you had on before. And they've already kicked it off such an awesome start with the handful of days that we had with that. So it's the number one and number two, you could say, of the film, and I'm playing David as being number one for the film, playing his sergeant to his lieutenant throughout. So it's kind of like the 1-2 punch for both of us going through, and then we keep seeing Teresa's character throughout as well. And we have some battle sequences we have to come back and shoot, but we got off to a great start. A very hot and sweaty start, as we mentioned before we started recording. Like it was like right now it's close to 90 to 100 degrees. That's what we were dealing with out in South Dakota as well. But we kind of split the day up to where the hottest hours we were not filming during those time frames. So that was really, really nice too. It was very awkward. The actor in me was happy, but the second AD in me was like, what? No, let's not do this.
Stay on schedule.
But yeah, exactly. But it ended up working out, and it was probably healthy all around. We drank all the water and did everything we were supposed to. Now, obviously, with the state of certain things, I haven't paid full on attention to, there's been some more specifications in terms of SAG, what's able to film and what isn't. So I'm waiting to see if that affects us in any way. But wanting to adhere to certain guidelines and such too. But that's been such fun. So that's at least first and foremost on my mind is finishing that up. Yeah, just more roles. I just adore any opportunities coming my way, and I would love to try my hand at another film, whether it be a Z-Fest film or taking one of the many stories that I've written, because I've written a few screenplays for maybe about 3 features that if I would lean into it more, could start the ball rolling into possibly getting made. I just haven't taken the time yet to do so. But yeah, I would love to. That just saying it now, that's probably one that I would feel would be a very nice venture to take, and another shot at directing one of my own stories, because that was such a joy to bring to the screen, and just that's another place I go to feel nice about, because it's like it's my story, that's my character. Ooh, that's my character. That's a bad guy. That's my like just the fun you have, the thrill you have as a filmmaker of just watching during filming it coming to life. If you can not be so stressed out and step away from yourself for a second and appreciate the process, but the aftermath of finally seeing it, like the finished project, and if you can get past we could have done that, and just enjoy it for what it is, which is where I choose to reside. Just enjoy, like, I did this, we did this, people helped me do this. This was amazing. Yeah, I would love to have another experience like that.
Yeah, it's so much fun. That's why I say, like, it's nice to have a Z-Fest here. I'm sure maybe there are other things like that in other states, but it's just nice for us to be able to flex that creative muscle, so to speak, on occasion, if you want to. So, yeah, and then be able to show it to your colleagues, and
just to have the outlet to create and to have a deadline to which you're supposed to create it by, and
have a moment
be
with
able
it
to
too.
And to have an audience, to give you, say, some feedback if you're willing to, or just create your project and don't even care about feedback. Like, just create what you want to create and get it out there, and just have the thrill. I think everyone deserves that thrill.
Right, exactly. I think it's nerve-wracking when you're sitting in that theater, isn't it? I mean, the first one, right? Huh?
Yeah. The first time I remember being quite nervous. The second time I remember being not as much, just like happy that I put something out there, and just knowing that I had something special, even if no one else thought so. I knew that. But you never forget that first time where you're just like, is everyone, are they smiling? Are they laughing? Okay.
What are they gonna think, right? You're just in the hot seat. They don't know it. They don't know you're like maybe the direct. Well, you were acting in the first one, but
do you ever want to give it commentary, like for people watching? You're just like, all right, turn on the light. So with this part, I meant it. You just want to like have your own live commentary while people
like a narration, like the 10 Commandments or something.
Everyone's just waiting for their own.
Here.
Yeah, everyone's just waiting for their own film to come up, and here I am, just like, well, you came out here for me, so let me discuss and tell you what's happening here and what my intention was. And I brought my own pamphlet you can fill out about what you didn't like and liked about my film.
Questions can come later.
Yeah.
Here's Anyways, I have one more question before we get to one of my other last questions here.
Sure.
Is Downtown Owl filmed here? Could you tell us a little bit about that? The Hamish Linklater film.
Yeah, I had a pretty small role with that one. It was just for one day and for one scene, but it was a very fun day and a very fun scene for sure, because of obviously being able to act with Vanessa Hudgens was fun, and I got nothing but good stories from people in terms of how she had been the whole time. She was always smiling, she was always happy, bringing wonderful energy. So I think I got her on like one of her last days of shooting too. So she was, probably a little extra just for that fact as well. You're always sad to be ending, but you're always looking forward to being finally wrapping as well too.
Right.
But being able to, I was really looking forward to if I was able to be on the set same day as Ed Harris, but apparently he had wrapped prior to that because of what his role was. So I was like, just to see him walk by, that would be fine with me. I don't have to talk to him. I could just know he's even on set at the same time, and I don't even have to see him. but I unfortunately wasn't able to confirm that he was even on that same day. But it was fun because I hadn't done acting for a bit at that point. So I was coming in from like the assistant director capacity, but just coming in, and it felt a little bored because as assistant director, you're always thinking about what's next, what we just do, what's tomorrow. In the actor world, you're just like, how do I look? Is my hair right? Like it was much, it was very less stressful and enjoyable. And, you want to make sure you're bringing the best moments to the scene and everything. But I was feeling a little bored at first, but I was running into a lot of people that I knew. So that was kind of fun. And so it was like, hey, that. So it was all these people that was just cool to see and then talk about what their experiences like on the film have been. But yeah, it was great with Amish and Lily co-directing on that one. It was really cool to seeing how they would work together. We didn't really get to, I guess they did flesh out our scene pretty well. So it was fun getting the direction with that and kind of finding some comedy in the moments as well too. When I was in the car with Vanessa, they wanted her to lean towards me a little bit more because she wasn't as in the shot as they wanted to, but we were in this old truck and there was this big barrier between us, the center console, and he was like a little bit more, and I'm like, I don't think she can really get over this hump right here. And then she started giggling and I was like, what? And she said, can't get over the hump. And I was like, oh, Vanessa, stop it, you dirty minded person. So that's apparently like how she was, just playful, just fun, giggly, never really too serious. So I wasn't nervous, but it definitely relaxed me as well, where I was just like, okay, we can just be giggly and be stupid and silly. And that's
good.
Yeah.
You need that between takes. You need the little.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely enjoy doing so, but you have to make sure it's being received by, say if there's actors who prefer to stay in moments or like they're doing their lines, they're nervous about what their lines are. But that's what I was having fun with David and Teresa, mostly David, because he and I had a lot of scenes together. Right before we would start walking, I would give him a nice butt pat, like right before we would start going down the trench line or something, or an intense one. It would be like a get out of your own head kind of thing. Because I knew he was putting a lot of pressure on himself with the performances, but me, I was just like, here we go. Just give him a nice butt pat and like, all right, off we go.
Kind of like in football.
Yeah, exactly. Get out there.
Yeah. So what is next for you to close out 2023? What is kind of your final few things, maybe?
We have this film, if we're able to come back and finish it, which I believe SAG should allow us to, will allow us to do, that we're within the guidelines of it being an independent film project that, it's just us. We don't have any names at this point or anything that we're working with. So it's really low key. So we'll finish that up. I have maybe another assistant director job happening for a feature in November, perhaps. I'll have to do the fun scheduling and everything with that one. That it's kind of like putting a puzzle piece together. So I find a weird enjoyment factor. It's not like you look forward to it, but when you're in it, it's like putting together a puzzle because you have to find the most efficient way to shoot these scenes out. So I choose to find enjoyment in it. Otherwise I would be like, I don't want to do this right now, but that's a part of it that's at least enjoyable, is putting that puzzle piece together in the best way that you can see.
Scheduling, man, that is tough.
It's a fascinating beast.
Yeah, I just got done doing that for a fan film where no one's, it's all voluntary. So they want to be there, but.
Was this the Star Wars one?
Yes.
Yeah, with all the lightsabers. The same photos of. Yeah, that looked pretty cool, man.
It's I'm kind of nerd. This is my nerd year, kind of nerding out year. So that's what's happening.
Which is a great kind of year to have.
Yeah.
Yes, let's all have nerd years. How about next year too?
Yeah,
I love it. Every year should be a nerd year.
We'll deal with next year, and then maybe the next year after that, and then if we're feeling good, we'll just keep it going.
Exactly. Well, can you tell us where people can find your work or where they can follow you?
Sure.
How they can support you, maybe contact you if they want to work together.
Yeah, awesome. Most of the work that I've done in the past, I believe, is available on Amazon still. I believe everything that I've kind of done has been on there. But I do keep up on my IMDb page with getting it out there, saying on Instagram, which is AD Stecker, Stecker. And then I have a link to just to show any upcoming films and what's upcoming, what I'm working on. If anyone is curious enough to find out what that's all about. I haven't updated it since my last film has come out, so just saying it now, I'll hurry up after this and update that, because I'm sure everybody's gonna but that's that's a good spot, at least where anyone can keep up with what I'm doing and spaces of what I'm interested in. Right now I'm very much focused in being somewhat of an advocate for mental health and such, because that's something that's always been of great importance to me, and I feel like even after the COVID time frame became even more so important for lots and lots of people. So it's definitely something that I have been trying to put a voice for out there, especially men's mental health, because we can talk and talk about mental health all the time and it still wouldn't be enough and couldn't be enough. So I feel like it just needs to be voiced by many more people. And I feel me being somebody who's had struggles with it in the past as well, it's an important thing for anybody to speak out about with their own personal experiences with it and what they have found that helps them. Like I picked up a new lavender candle, so I have my lavender harmony candle right here for helping with relaxation and calming effects that it can have. So that's at least a good amount of what I devote my attention to, say on my social medias right now.
I love that. I am with you 100% on that, and I think that's phenomenal. So awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we got one more question, but it's the big one. And I feel like the vibes you've got going are perfect to lead right into this. Andrew, can you tell us, what do you want people to remember most about you? Whether it's from working together, from getting to know you just in general, from watching your films, anything.
That I help them find their smile.
I love that.
I'm gonna go back to the City Slickers, thing. That's really all. Like, hard worker, yes. Talented, sure. Like, those are all in there somewhere. But really, at the end of the day, if someone's walking away from me and they have a smile on their face, I'll probably feel much better about that than any of the other things.
Well, I can say that both Alan and I are smiling right now, but have been the entire interview, or not even interview, the entire podcast, the entire recording, because this has been really fun just chatting with you. So seriously, thank you so much for taking the time and letting us just pummel questions at you. This has been really fun getting to know you and chat about you and film.
Yeah, again, thank you guys both for allowing me to do so, because it's always very soul fulfilling for me to be able to express my thoughts and what I think and experiences that I've had. It's sometimes a rare thing to be able to do and to feel all right with doing so. So thank you so much for that outlet.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, thanks for joining us. It has been Film in Minnesota.